Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your guy Rudy SKC, and welcome to a brand new video. After a terrible sports weekend for Michigan in general, the Detroit Pistons on MLK Day come out and they beat the Houston Rockets 107-96 in probably one of the biggest story-driven games in what might be the Pistons' biggest rivalry at the moment. Now, as we know, the Rockets are second place in the Western Conference with 28 wins. So this isn't just a win against another rebuilding team. This is a win against a really good team who maybe they don't necessarily have their superstar, but Jalen Green has been averaging 30 points over the last few games in this last stretch. He's Western Conference Player of the Week, and he's really starting to come into his own as of recently. And that's the thing that the Rockets have been looking for in terms of, their franchise player to lift them up. So that's been coming together, and their team has been performing really well this entire year, right? They're second in the Western Conference. But the storylines from this game, the rivalry that Detroit and Houston are forming, is what really, for me, made this game so extremely important for the Pistons emotionally to win this game, right? Well, so what do you have? You have Cade versus Jalen, right? Number one versus number two in the 2021 draft. You have a lot of Pistons fans that really wanted Jalen Green. You have a lot of Houston fans who, after Jalen Green got picked, and especially in the national media, everyone, I want you guys to go back and check this. Everyone in national media, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, even Shannon Sharp, every single person said that they would rather have picked Jalen Green over Cade Cunningham in that draft at that moment. Because they thought Jalen, he's a more explosive player. He can better replicate, the Kobe Bryants, Vince Carters of the world and be that type of player. And they didn't see that kind of ceiling with Cade. Now, obviously, they really did not know what they were talking about there, right? But that's one big storyline coming into this game. The other big storyline is it's the battle of the Thompson twins, right? You have Asar Thompson on one side for the Pistons and Amen Thompson on the other side for the Rockets. Now, I'll get into Asar's play a little bit later, but I do want to mention here, Amen Thompson at the current moment is a better player than Asar, right? Doesn't take anything away from Asar, but Amen Thompson is the better player right now. His game is a little more polished. He's way better at finishing at the rim. And his impact for the Rockets is just a little bit more than Asar's is for the Pistons right now. Now, that's due to a lot of reasons. And in my opinion, one of the biggest ones is the fact that Asar didn't get the offseason to work and improve on his game. He was recovering from his blood clotting injury. There's a lot of other factors that go into it. And especially for a player who's coming off his first year, that first summer is crucial to that player's development, and Asar essentially didn't get that. So to me, it's not fair to judge which one of them is which one of them is going to be better based off of how they are now. I would give this more time. I'd say both of them are definitely super talented, and let's see how that goes, right? But those are the two main storylines coming in. So you have Cade versus Jalen, the Detroit versus Houston rivalry, which started after that draft, and then you have the Thompson twins battle, right? So coming into this game, you had those huge storylines. And on top of that, the Pistons have lost the last two games, right? They lost the last two games where, we thought maybe they'll drop one to the Suns, one to the Pacers, and they'll win the other one. And, this stretch of games would be kind of crucial for the Pistons in terms of seeding. But they ended up losing both games to the Suns and the Pacers. And that's why coming into this game against Houston, it was crucially important that they don't go back under 500. If they won't go back under 500, they lose 3 in a row. It kind of destroys the momentum that they have, over the last 15 or so games where they've been, I believe they've been 7-3 since January 1st. They've only lost, 4 or 5 games in the last 15, 16 game stretch. It kind of throws a wrench in that momentum. So to me, from a team standpoint, as well as a storyline standpoint, this was a big game coming into it. And I want to start off in the first quarter because I think that even pre-game, there's something that, Johnny Kane highlighted, and some people said on Twitter as well, that Cade Cunningham, he was leading some kind of huddle before the game started. Now, I don't know exactly what that was, what it meant. But from the first whistle, from the first ball being tipped, the Pistons in the first quarter, their intensity was unmatched. I mean, they came out guns blazing. They were trying to score. I even thought at some point that maybe they were pressing a little too hard, and that was causing, some turnovers. I'd be shocked to see that turnover number would be like times 55 the rest of the game. But I thought they were doing that, and that was causing some early turnovers. but the intensity that they're showing was unbelievable. And to me, it really came down to one guy. That guy's name is Jalen Duren. That first 8-minute stretch by Jalen Duren is probably the best Jalen Duren that we've seen this entire year, hands down, no question. From rebounding on the offensive glass to the way that he was playing defense on Şengün. He wasn't letting we were coming into this matchup expecting Şengün to go off on Duren, and kind of the opposite happened. He was stopping Şengün. He was preventing him from getting the ball. He was creating turnovers when they're trying to get Şengün the ball. I actually think he did a better job on Şengün this game than Beef Stew did, and Beef Stew did a decent job on Şengün too. So, to me, Jalen Duren, the way he came out in that game, and then not just both of those, but even on the offensive side of the ball, the positioning that he was getting, the tips he was forcing, the hustle he was showing. There was one play, guys, where Jalen Duren got the ball in the paint, and it was towards the end of the shot clock. He gets the ball, he pivots on one foot, he turnaround fadeaways, and when he hit that shot, I swear to you, it looked exactly like a highlight of Hakeem Olajuwon that I've seen in the past. Everything from the footwork to the shooting form, it looked exactly like that. And to me, I'm telling you guys, there's just something about Duren where his potential is limitless. And it was a quick, 8-9 foot jumper, that turnaround jumper. That's something that if Duren, I personally think he has to add it to his game if he wants to be, or not a turnaround necessarily, but, at least a respectable 15-foot jumper. He needs to be able to add to this game if he wants to be the center in the future. But being able to do that kind of work in the paint is just something that goes to show you what can this guy's potential be in 5 to 6 years. We don't really know. And to me, it's still limitless. And that's the big question mark with Duren is he going to be able to achieve it? Does he have the motor to achieve it? But regardless of all those questions, you can see that the potential is there. And in my opinion, the first 8-minute stretch in that first quarter really kind of highlighted it and showed why, a lot of fans clamoring for Duren to get traded and bringing in someone like Miles Turner, me even included at times thinking that maybe this could be a great fit for the Pistons, even in the long run. You can see Jalen Duren telling all of us that, hey, I'm still here, guys. I still have endless potential. And I saw that and I tweeted out Duren Olajuwon, and I hop on Twitter and I see 50 other people saying the same thing. And man, that was crazy to watch, in my opinion. I literally couldn't even breathe seeing Duren play that way. This is something that we haven't seen this entire year. And it was on the pick and roll too. He was being the player in that first 8-minute stretch that we thought he would be going into a sophomore year after his first year. Because the first year Duren came onto the scene and it was nothing but energy, right? He was all the time on his motor. I don't know what kind of disservice to development that Monty Williams and last year's coaching staff did. It's genuinely, it's punishable, but it's punishable in a court of law, what they ended up doing. So to me, Jalen Duren, huge shout out to him. The rest of the game, I don't think he played as well as that first stretch, but that first stretch, he really not only set the tone for himself, but he set the tone for the Pistons and the intensity they were trying to play with. Then Cade goes out, and everything kind of falls apart in the second quarter. The Pistons, they let the Rockets come back early in the second quarter because pretty much when Cade's out of the game, there's no interior penetration by anyone. It's all trying to get Beasley or Hardaway open for a three. Maybe Ron Holland's going to take the occasional three. He's going to get the occasional drive. Or it's Sasser ball, which honestly, I would low-key rather see that than the other stuff. And we'll get to that eventually too because Sasser had a great game today. But everything goes to hell. Okay, everything goes to hell, and the Pistons let the Rockets come back after the Rockets were down 15 points. And then Cade comes back into the game, and that last 8 to 9 minute stretch is one of the worst stretches of basketball I've seen Cade Cunningham play. First of all, his finishing at the rim, he was getting looks, okay? He was getting looks. Ball just was not going inside it. In my opinion, he was pressing a little too much, and I was thinking at that point, maybe the whole rivalry with Jalen Green, it's causing him to overexert himself, and, it's causing him to rush some of these shots. He was being uber aggressive, and then after that stretch of him, missing a bunch of shots, he just started turning the ball over for no reason. He's turning the ball over for fun. He ended the game with 10 turnovers, and I'd say that he actually generated more turnover-worthy plays than the stats say, than the 10 turnovers. I have no idea what was wrong with Cade in the second quarter. It was careless too. A lot of the passes he's making, they were careless. They were kind of just like I'm gonna throw them and hope for the best. It looked a little too cool. That's Cade's thing. I get that, right? He makes everything look easy. But to me, it was a little too laid back in that second quarter. And that's when Houston kind of came back into the game. And they ended up making it a close game going into half. And that's the type of thing that can't happen. And that's the type of thing that, honestly, it happens when you don't have a second guy who can create next to Cade. You look at Ausar Thompson, who's essentially the Pistons' other big, playmaker and, creator when Cade's not in the game or Cade doesn't have the ball. Ausar's the other guy who can create for this offense. And to me this year, Ausar, I think he's been struggling a little bit too much with his hands. And it goes into catching the ball low when someone's bounce passing into him, or when he's dribbling into a crowd. He loses the ball far too frequently. And I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it has something to do with rust. Maybe it has something to do with game reps. But this is something Isaiah Stewart struggled with, over the last 2 years. And this year, he massively improved it. So to me, for Ausar to be, a dynamic playmaker on the offense, that's something that we have to see improvement with, because, I genuinely don't know what's wrong there, but it's causing too many turnovers. And when Cade's turning the ball over like that, you can't have the other main ball creator doing the same thing, because Ausar was turning the ball over too. He was turning the ball over too, and definitely was not helping the Pistons. So now, first quarter, it's the tale of two quarters, right? Pistons, they came out with energy. Duren sets the tone, and then everything, Cade comes out of the game, and everything kind of goes back. Rockets come back, tie game, going into halftime. Then the third quarter came up, and it was Cade Cunningham take overtime. It was Cade Cunningham essentially telling the Rockets, I'm a superstar, I can do this, I can score in bunches whenever I want to. I'm going to essentially put the nail in the coffin in you guys right now. It was very similar to the game flow of the Knicks game, except the Knicks ended up trying to make it a game, going late into the third quarter after Cade's flurry. Cade's flurry effectively ended the game today against the Rockets. There were a few other comeback attempts, right? But nothing really materialized. And he was getting everything he wanted. And a lot of it was on Amen Thompson. He's widely considered, him and his brother are two of the top 10 defenders in his league, right? Amen and Ausar are two of the top 10 defenders in the league. And he was essentially getting whatever he wanted on Amen. He had the poster on Amen Thompson. He split a double team and got the poster. It was getting bad to the point where, when he was getting minutes in the fourth quarter, Houston was double teaming him at half court. They were trying to trap him close to the logo, pretty much. So to me, with Cade, again, this, you saw all the turnovers and everything in the second quarter. He's playing lax. Now he comes out with a completely different energy, and he says, I'm going to go and score every single basket. And he was getting whatever he wanted, whether it was in the mid-range, whether it was from three, that three ball was falling, and even at the rim, his shots were starting to fall. And to me, Cade is a guy that he has great touch around the rim. You look at his finishing numbers and you think that he doesn't have great touch around the rim. He actually has really good touch around the rim, right? A lot of times he gets double teamed when he's going up to shoot, maybe because of a lack of athleticism, but also partially because you have a big man that can't shoot, so it crowds the lane a little bit. And again, that's something that Cade's going to have to continue to work with. But as soon as that three ball and that mid-range is falling, there's pretty much nothing defenses can do. If Cade's shot is falling, he can get any shot he wants. And to me, this was not like the Indiana game. Houston was not defending him as well as the Indiana game. Yes, you had a good defender, one-on-one defender on him with Amen Thompson. But Houston, it wasn't enough to stop Cade. He was getting whatever he wanted. And the cherry to end it off was at the end of the third quarter for the buzzer. Cade, he steps back on Amen and drains a mid-range right in his face. When Cade gets in that zone, there are few people in this league that are better than him. And his ability to get in that zone is why he is absolutely 100% a superstar in this league. So, to me, again, guys, vote for Cade. Your vote counts 3 times today for the rest of the day. But again, this is why Cade is a superstar. And to me, this was the difference between the Pistons, who had their superstar on the court, even if their team is not as good as the Rockets, and the Rockets, who have their superstar who was kind of immature at times to me. Every time he goes up against Cade, whenever Cade gets a basket, Jalen tries his hardest and he throws up a bad shot on the other end trying to make something work. So you can see that I was actually impressed with Jalen Green in the first half today. The second half, his shot wasn't falling and he kind of just turned into a shot checker. So you see the difference between a team that has its superstar who's established himself, and you see a team who has a superstar that's trying to establish himself, but he isn't on that level yet. And that's the difference between Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green right now. So all the analysts, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, I don't even know if Max Kellerman might have been on back then too. For all of you guys, go back and revisit your takes, because surprisingly, the main analyst who was right about that draft class so far was Kendrick Perkins. So all of you guys, go back, watch this video, watch what I'm saying, go back and tweet out saying that, yes, you were wrong. Because otherwise, it's just going to get lost in the word jumble over all the other nonsense that, that's coming out of them every day. And as an analyst in sports, it's hard, right? I understand takes aren't going to work. But, this was something that was egregious, and it wasn't based on any rational thinking or rational fact. It was based on highlights, if we're keeping it 100% real. So, to me, again, every time the Pistons beat the Rockets, it's a great chance for us Pistons fans to gloat. And it's just what it is, guys. I'm sorry, Rockets. But when the Rockets win, they can do all the gloating we want, but we have the main difference right now is we have our franchise player. And he is undoubtedly the superstar of this team. And I better start hearing Cunningham chants at LCA soon, because I'll tell you what, the Jared Goff chants, because of the way that the playoff game ended, they're not coming back. They're not coming back, And the Jared Goff chants, like I said, I was okay with them. A few videos ago, I'm pretty sure I addressed it and said I was okay with them. But after that kind of game where it seriously makes you think, can Goff be the guy? I mentioned, is Goff Alex Smith or Patrick Mahomes? It has to be Cunningham chants, man. That's the superstar within Detroit right now. He's our young budding superstar. One quick thing I want to mention, Marcus Sasser in the fourth quarter, it's getting to a point now for me where I'm expecting Marcus Sasser to score some clutch buckets in the fourth quarter. Because when Cade was out of the game, Houston starts making a comeback, and I'm telling JB, please get Cade back in this game. And Marcus Sasser, he has like a 3-4 minute stretch where he basically takes over the game. He hits a floater, he gets to the rim, he gets a basket. It was a off the high glass, kind of floater type shot. He gets a pull-up 3 in transition. He gets another bucket, and all of a sudden it's back to a 12, 13-point game. And Cade essentially doesn't need to score the rest of the game because the Pistons are handling number 1 and number 2 because Jalen Green is chucking and missing on the other side. So, again, that's huge to me. And Sasser, he's such an interesting player to judge because he's not a point guard, right? But he's not a conventional, he's a combo guard. He's really a combo guard. So you need another ball creator there, but he's a guy that you can genuinely say, in the long run for the Pistons, can he be the sixth man? Can he be that spark plug off the bench? Because right now in that fourth quarter, I'm going to start calling that on Twitter. I'm going to start posting Sasser time whenever the fourth quarter starts and Cade isn't in the game. Because really, it's Marcus Sasser's time. He genuinely takes over. And I think if he can apply that to stretches at the end of the first quarter as well and match that intensity, that's something the Pistons can look forward to rather than trying to force Beasley and Hardaway into contested threes off screens. And Fontecchio too, but guys, I can't wait for Fontecchio to get off this team. I can't wait for Fontecchio to get off this team. Whether it's by trade or getting off the rotation, what is that? I can't wait for him. I can't wait for him to get off the team, man. It's too much. It's been too long. I'm sorry. That the role he plays is just too replaceable for how poorly he's shooting from the 3 and how much it sucks for the Pistons offense when he puts the ball on the ground. So I'm so ready for that to be over. But overall for the Pistons, great win for them. Cade asserted his supremacy over Jalen Green. They get the rivalry win for the NBA too. Good rivalry game. The Thompson Bowl, I guess Amen takes this one, but Asar, he did have a couple good plays. He had a couple times when he was being aggressive that looked pretty good too. But again, when it comes down to it, basketball more than anything, it's defined by individuals. And one individual on your team, Detroit, Cade Cunningham, he rose up above the rest of the players on the court today and showed why he is indeed a top 20 player in the league right now and should be in the top 10 for not only just All-Star, All-NBA, but why he's top 10 in MVP voting. So, with that being said, guys, I'll see you guys later. One thing I'll say is I'll have a video coming out later in the week talking about who the Lions can replace both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Obviously, Ben Johnson's with the Bears now, which makes him public enemy number 1. And AG is probably going to leave if we're being honest. So, I'll have a video out talking about who I think the replacement candidates can be. Other than that, wait till the next Pistons game, and I'll see you guys then. Peace.